Somebody who follows that closely is the president of Football Canada, is Jim Mullin, who I said was in charge of the Zoom conference yesterday, and he joins us now. And Jim, congratulations on finally getting that Cornish Trophy awarded.
Thing that we present in March, in around spring break. It gives us a good news story in the middle of our low point of our schedule for football in Canada, and it's all done at the Canadian Football Hall of Fame in Hamilton, where the trophy is. There's one tradition that we have around the trophy where the winner gets to sign the back of it, and that's the thing. We promised to bring it down to Stillwater when things get back to normal. So Chuba's got a shot at signing the back of it and actually getting a pose with the trophy.
And I hope you'll get to make that trip. I know, your experience in football. You've seen some great places, some great atmospheres, but we would love in Stillwater to treat you to the atmosphere at Boone Pickens Stadium for a big game day and a chance for you to experience that. I think you'll enjoy it.
Well, it's a shame that we didn't get the opportunity to present it at the spring game or the spring scrimmage. Quite frankly, you've got the hardcore fans there, but still there in a good number. I believe is going to be around 20,000 that show up for that game, and it's something that he could have celebrated with his team and the coaching staff and the rest of the school. We were really looking forward to that and doing a live broadcast out of there as well as we presented it. Instead, we did a half-hour show that was broadcast on the Football Canada website and the Canadian Football Hall of Fame website. That was good because the clips were picked up across the country in Canada, so there was a great reaction to it. When people aren't playing hockey up here, they're going to report on the second favorite sport in the country, which is football, and to have a guy like Chuba do something that very few Canadians have done in the NCAA in terms of actually being in that Heisman talk. We had Ruben Mays way back when, and
Right.
at Washington State we had Tim Biak-Batuka at Michigan, and we had Tony Mandarich as well. Kind of change the discussion around offensive linemen, and then change another discussion down the road. There's been very few Canadians to have performed at this level. I believe that Chuba's year is the best year ever by a Canadian in NCAA football.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny. I remember when Chuba was being recruited, and I watched tape of him um, there at Bev Facey School, and he had a 105-yard touchdown run, and that was worth a story there because I was telling Oklahoma State fans, get ready, you guys are about to see a running back who's done something even Barry Sanders didn't do. There has never been an Oklahoma State running back that came in from being recruited and had a 105-yard touchdown run to his credit. It's impossible in American football. So that got a lot of people's attention. But he was a sensation coming out of high school that kind of grew. And even last season, talk about the reaction because we could tell down here. People in Canada, I mean, he became a sensation last year with what he was doing in Stillwater. I mean, when Wayne Gretzky wishes you luck on social media, hey, we all know what that means in Canada.
Well, we do a weekly TV show, Crown Gridiron Nation, on TSN, and it's all about college football, both in the United States, focusing on Canadians and Canadian college football too. We've never got a response in the 10 years that we've been doing the show like we have on a particular individual as we have on Chuba Hubbard. I'm sure that maybe his highlight, he even touched on hockey a little bit, was being invited by the Edmonton Oilers to drop the ceremonial puck at a game. There are people in Edmonton right now, actually, that are walking around with Edmonton Oilers jerseys that have the number 30 on it and Hubbard. So he's converting hockey fans one by one over to our game.
You want to know something? Those jerseys, those sweaters. Don't they call them sweaters still a little bit? Hockey
Yeah,
sweaters.
that's the old
That's the
lore.
old school.
Jersey sweaters. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's more than a few of those being displayed down in Stillwater, Oklahoma, too. Those made it
Well,
south. So,
hey,
and
we
I'm
may be giving the merchandise people an idea down at Oklahoma State, selling OSU hockey jerseys with the number 30 on it. I think those things sell like hotcakes.
Oh yeah, I think that those would go like hotcakes now, and when the legislation all gets through the NCAA for name, image, and likeness, which is going on down here, Chuba can collect, with his name and number on it, he can collect a percentage of the sales on that. Um, hey, I've got to throw this in because I'm hoping that you run across this guy every once in a while. But in high school, I played against a guy who turned out to be one of the greats in Canadian football. Matt Dunnigan was our opening opponent every year in high school was Lake Highlands High School, and Matt Dunnigan was their quarterback. Matt and I were born the same year and got to know each other pretty good because I think we played against each other 3 times. And
Yeah.
then he goes on to Louisiana Tech and then on to Canada and becomes one of the all-time greats. And I watch him on TV doing the CFL, pre and post game. So please tell Matt Dunnigan Robert Allen said hello.
Matty is one of a kind, man. He's on the Canadian Football Hall of Fame committee with me, and Matty is one of those larger than life sort of guys. I'm sure there's one thing that you may not be aware of, which is that he had his own cooking show on the Food
Yes.
Network in Canada. It was a big barbecue show. Matt had the record for passing yards in a game in the CFL was 714 yards passing in a single game. Matty's a great guy. I got all the time in the world for him.
And I will tell you this: he could throw the ball, he could zing it around, but we had a hard time catching up with him because when he was in high school, he got really scary when he tucked the ball and started to take off with it because he was a crazy effective runner in making moves and dipping and we had a hard time corralling him. But yeah, Matt's a good guy. I haven't talked to him in years, but so proud of what he's done up there. And then Oklahoma State, I mentioned we were gonna. I wanted to ask you about this guy because he came up here recently. Oklahoma State just redid the walls in the football office, the area where they salute professional players that came from Oklahoma State. And obviously, there've been a ton in the NFL. But Shane Richards, an offensive lineman a couple of years ago, was a first round pick in the CFL draft, and that gave Mike Gundy the idea. We need to salute the guys that have done well in other forms of professional football, CFL, Arena League, so forth. And so now Darius Bowman, who Mike Gundy coached in his time as head coach at Oklahoma State, and is one of the all-time greats. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, he's not the CFL all-time pass receiving leader, but he's got a prominent place on the wall. And Darius Bowman, man, he was awesome at Oklahoma State.
Yeah, and he just went into retirement after the 2018 season here in Canada. He's mainly known as an Edmonton Eskimo
Hmm.
for his time in Canada. He signed a fairly big in terms of CFL contract. Free agent deal in 2018 in Winnipeg, and was eventually moved to Montreal, where he was part of the Johnny Manziel circus that was there for a little bit. Yeah,
Yeah.
he was simply outstanding up here. He found his niche, and he really went for it as a wide receiver here. Shane Richards, one of our panelists on Crown Gridiron Nation, Mike Hogan, is actually the play-by-play voice of the Toronto Argonauts. So he's got to know him over time, and they started talking about Chuba. and Shane may be the biggest fanboy ever of Chuba Hubbard. Based upon that after his big Oregon State game, Mike starts walking up to Shane, and Shane starts yelling, I told you, you needed to listen to me. I told you." And he shouted it so loud, there's people around the practice field thinking that there's an argument that's going to happen here. There's something wrong that's going on here. But it was Shane that was so charged up about what Chuba did in that Oregon State game to kind of launch the year. And if there's a guy that counted every yard that Chuba Hubbard ran or produced throughout the course of last season, it was Shane Richards, who's done a good job working his way in and adapting to playing football at the professional level. It may not be the NFL, but the CFL is a highly competitive league, and not every first round draft pick into the league makes that transition, but Shane is making it.
Well, and I will say this, Shane's right. I'm with him. I've been with him on that bandwagon since I saw Chuba as a high schooler, and he committed to Oklahoma State at the time. Um, and I will say this, and I wrote this in the article yesterday that we put on. We're part of our website's part of the Sports Illustrated Maven network. And at the end, I said, hey, we've been talking about Chuba for a long time, and I'm just going to say this. I've been around Oklahoma State in one form or another since 1978, covering Oklahoma State football, and I've seen a lot of great running backs. In my opinion, Chuba Hubbard is the best running back I've seen at Oklahoma State since Barry Sanders, and there've been a lot of good ones. The Kendall Hunters, the Joseph Randalls, Tatum Bells, Werner Morency's. We've seen a lot of guys go to the NFL, and I'm just saying I haven't seen anybody this good since Barry. So, and I really expect Chuba. Hopefully, we have a season, and Chuba will prove it again, and get what he deserves as far as being a first round draft pick, in the NFL. So, let me ask you this, Jim. While we've got you, you're up in British Columbia, right?
Correct.
Okay. Uh, Kind of give us a gauge of what's going on in Canada with this. And I know the CFL season, and I love watching CFL football. I think it's a blast, and I like the rules. The rules kind of apply to the way offenses run in the Big 12 with the air raid and the spread offenses. Um, but where is Canada on the COVID-19, and where is the CFL season at this point?
Well, I think Canada's done a lot better than the United States in terms of managing COVID, especially depending on the region that we're in. In terms of British Columbia, we've done a great job of flattening the curve here, and we're getting back to getting out of isolation here by mid-month. Now that doesn't mean that everything is going to be back to normal. We're far away from normal right now. And in terms of spectator sports in our province, we've got a MLS team, we've got a National Hockey League team, and we've got a CFL team right now that still do not have an answer from the province whether or not they can play games this summer, this fall, this winter. Um, the challenge for the Canadian Football League is that they have a good TV deal that covers off their costs for their players and their coaches approximately, but the other 40 to 50% of their operating costs comes from gate revenue. You can't run the CFL without gate revenue. And right now, the province in BC and several of the other provinces as well at the stage they're at, we're far, far away from having spectator sports return. As a matter of fact, it probably won't return until there's a vaccine. The Canadian Football League's gone to the federal government and said, "Hey, can you help out?" Basically, at this stage, if they're going to run games and they're going to run games without fans in the stands, They'll need a government loan or government assistance to do that, or they're just going to shut the season down, keep their fingers crossed, hope for the best. They should be in training camp right now. So if we're looking at a CFL season to start in the fall to some degree, it'll be reduced from 18 games to 8 games. Everybody plays each other once in a 9-team league. It's kind of it's kind of the same way that Tom Cousineau came up here and played with the Montreal Alouettes. Once described the CFL. It's professional football in a college atmosphere. Well, it'll be in a college season with an 8-game season if they do manage to pull it off.
Yeah. Hopefully, in fact, we've got a rookie quarterback going to Winnipeg that handed the ball to Chuba in his last game. It was you know Drew Brown was the quarterback for the Cowboys the last 3 games of the season. A great kid. Actually, was voted a captain. He had that much respect as the backup quarterback, and he set some records, had some big seasons at Hawaii, and came here for the last several college seasons. But Drew Brown, I wouldn't bet against him. He's a very determined young man, but he signed with Winnipeg, so he'll be up there when they get started. But hey, I really appreciate you coming on, and again, love the fact that we've got Chuba here, and the fact he's being honored and was honored with the Cornish Trophy, very deserving. But appreciate all you guys do up there in Canada for the sport of football.
Well, thanks very much for that. And we know that Chuba's been really exposed to the culture down there because he's saying y'all, and
Yeah.
and
Yes.
now that he's saying that instead of saying all of you, eh? It means
Yeah.
it means that he's really being exposed to the culture. By the way, we had a half hour presentation to Chuba, and we
Mm-hmm.
went through the 5 nominees, including Eamon Ogbongbemiga. By
Amen.
the way, he did
Exactly.
finish fifth. It's over on YouTube on Crown Gridiron Nation on TSN. That's Crown with a K. So if
Okay.
people want to check that out, and he was Chuba was up against Chase Claypool, and in any other year, Chase Claypool at Notre Dame, the MVP of Notre
Yes.
Dame, the first pick in the second round by the Pittsburgh Steelers, would have won this thing hands down. He had great competition from all the Canadians that were there.
Well, and I told you I would ask you about Neville Gallimore. He plays for Oklahoma State's rival at OU, or played for Oklahoma State's rival. Watched him really come along during his career at OU, and he's going to be with the Dallas Cowboys. So there's going to be I'm sure the Dallas Cowboys, they're still known around here as America's team, and I imagine there's more than a few Canadians that are very aware of the Dallas Cowboys. So I'm sure Neville has a pretty good following up there in Canada as well.
Yeah, he's big in Ottawa. His brother played college basketball up here on a very successful college basketball team. So the Gallimore name's known well in Ottawa. And the great thing about Neville is he joins 2 other Canadians there. So you guys better watch out. The America's team might become Canada's team pretty soon.
Well, that's fine. And if Canada wants to adopt Oklahoma State as their college team, hey, the more the merrier. We'll be glad to take on the Great White North and have them join us. But again, I appreciate it. Tremendous honor for Chuba. Folks down here, I know, are very excited for him and excited that he's the Cornish Trophy winner. Hopefully, he'll repeat and maybe win that big trophy they give down here, named the Heisman, because in my opinion, he's a strong candidate. So, again, Jim, appreciate your time.
Thanks very much for having me on.
All right, Jim Mullin, president of Football Canada.